Welcome to Storm Watch by GreyNoise Intelligence. Each week, we cover the latest developments in the world of baked Italian turnovers and other Italian culinary delights. Whether it be stromboli, calzone, panzerotti, pastis, rustico, or the creations of sweet dessert variety, we have left no crust unpierced and no slice undipped. Today, we're pairing our usual savory culinary fare with some critical topics from the world of cybersecurity. Our aperitivo is a review of recent poll results of what concerns y'all on the most about encrypted messaging apps. For the antipasto, we asked Todd to drop all the deets on a recent coordinated disclosure of a sneaky backdoor in a consumer robot dog. In the primo segment, we take advantage of Signal being in the spotlight to share how best to use any encrypted messaging app safely. The secondo course is filled with daft threat actor names and daft malware names as we take a brief look at Famous Sparrow and their Sparrow door. Contorno features Europol's 2025 Serious and Organized Crime Threat Assessment, where we learn that our mafioso patrons are now deeply entrenched in the world of cybercrime. And last but not least, we take a look at the latest happenings from our own mob bosses in our Dolce course. What's up, fam?
That was delicious.
Amazing, Bob.
And we have a special guest for everyone today. It is Stromboli Cam. This is a Stromboli that I baked last night for that Todd made me. He actually twisted my arm.
No, it's not. It's live.
It's live right now.
No, it's totally live right now. But we're going to see this turn into a wonderful golden crust thing. Before we go, I'm going to show you how the prep was, and later I gotta talk to everybody because, gosh, it feels like it's been forever since we're all together. I want to start with Kimber. And Kimber, buongiorno, first of all, Kimber. And second of all, how's it going? Any highs or lows to share with everybody on this April Fool's Day?
I'm just gonna say it is full on blizzarding outside here in Utah. I can barely see across the street. I'm like both disappointed and amused at this point. So it's going to be both my high and my low today. Along with this beautiful, I'm just excited to watch this beautiful stromboli cook. It looks kind of like an arm right now, but
I was gonna say it looks like a cut finger at the moment.
Like a cut arm, yeah. We'll see. It'll get better.
Yeah, it'll get better
to the end. Yeah. Himija, buongiorno to you as well. And how goes it? Do you have a high or a low?
Good morning. My high is that I'm really grateful that I can eat bread.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. Yes.
This is the first thing that popped in my head, and I stand by it. I think that the best meal in the world is just really, really, really good bread and really good olive oil.
Oh,
absolutely.
Or really good butter.
I was gonna say butter, yeah.
Can't do butter. That's so mean. I can't do butter. It's so mean, Kimber.
Well, I fully went to Cheesecake Factory.
Stromboli's moving.
Yes.
And that brown bread with that salty butter.
Ooh, yeah, I remember that.
Worth the tummy ache. For me.
Yeah, Glenn, I will be noting all the foibles from last night in this recording thing. I'll be noting it in a minute. Todd, buongiorno to you as well.
Buongiorno.
And you are a fellow chef, it looks like, from the back there.
I am. I've chosen a background here. I used to work at the original hot dog stand in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, many years ago, and we did make stromboli as well as pizza and some other pasta thing. But this is my station. I worked hot dogs, and it was amazing and crazy. It was a very crazy time in my life.
and it's not crazy now.
Well, I guess. I mean, doing like 16-hour shifts in a place that was open until 5 in the morning.
I don't want to offend our viewers, but it is Pittsburgh. How good could this stromboli?
Yeah.
So, any highs or lows for everybody today?
High. I've got like bracketing highs. Last weekend, I did go to Ren Fair with a bunch of hackers, and we ended up talking about Star Trek a weird amount, and that was kind of awesome. It was like 3 different fandoms all kind of smooshed into one. And then this weekend, this coming Monday, I'm off to VulnCon in Raleigh, North Carolina, where the vulnerati, I guess, all gather and talk about vulnerabilities and risk scoring and management and how to avoid patching things.
I had some interest. Yeah, and we'll be there. I don't think I mentioned it here. Our noise letter comes out today. You might want to watch the noise letter to see what I had to say about and other things too. Glenn, buongiorno as well. Although I said that already, like in Slack this morning. Before I ask you highs or lows, have you finally figured out the difference between Stromboli and calzone? Like, do you now know that? Like, because there was some confusion in the prep meeting.
Yeah, burrito and taco. That's how I'm going to remember it.
Fair.
Pizza tostada. Stromboli burrito. Calzone taco.
So what's your high or low today?
I am a caveman. High. Well, I know my low. My low is watching this Stromboli cook and then not being able to eat it. That's my low.
It was pretty tasty. I'm that's my self praise, but it was actually pretty good.
And I would say my high is today marks ironically 2 years of GreyNoise, and it's pretty cool.
We did hire him on April Fools on.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. So Overwatch, how goes it? Buongiorno, all good there. I'm going to VulnCon too, and really wants a calzone right now. Ooh, can't help you. I'm not going to get there in time.
This is a calzone zone.
This is my high is I got to both make and eat tasty Italian food last night. So it's a very, very good high for that. And let's get the where's the presenter thingy? There it is. I need to add it to the stage. And so please like and subscribe all the things. Like, go to this page. It really makes Overwatch's day. Like, we need to get something installed so that like Ashley hears like a lovely sound every time somebody subscribes, so that her day can be filled with music or something like that. Just make Ashley's day if you could do that.
How about a receipt printer that prints out the praise every time someone signs up?
I'm gonna send one to you. That's what I'm gonna do, and just print it all the time. And before we get into the swing of things, today we are sponsored by OnlyFeds, where love meets clearance level. So onlyfeds.app.
Yeah, first sponsor.
Wow.
Yeah,
Is there a sign up code that we're supposed to share so that we get credit for this? I can't.
I don't think we want credit for any only signups at all. And just to show people, the whole plan was to show the recording of me prepping these things as well as baking these things last night, and I did record myself making 2 Stromboli and 1 calzone, except I did not because I failed to press the start button on OBS because I'm an idiot and I was a little bit scatterbrained last night. So to prove I did stuff, there's my setup that I did there.
That's very nice.
Always having the Full Metal crew watching over me when I do stuff there.
That very Pinterest vibe on this.
Yeah.
All the way on the end is an actual like vacuum sealer too. It's a pro vacuum sealer. It's really good for doing prep work if you ever wanted to get one of those there. And that's what the finished product looked like coming out of the oven, and that's what it looks like as you slice it and want to eat the thing. And I have a recipe if anyone wants it. I might post it just before the end of this if I remember. Before we get into some of the swing of things, I just need to like we keep saying, throw VMware out, get Proxmox, and be done with it. Because now, even if you only have like a tiny number of cores, you're paying for like the max. That's how they're trying to make money now. This is a terrible company. This is a terrible business practice, and you should not support this in any way, shape, or form. I'll move on fast unless someone else wants to take a swing at them. I mean, I'm the one that's going to get put in jail or get a lawsuit if I only say things. But if you want to say stuff, go for it.
It's fun to read about this on Reddit. The people that are affected by it.
It was a good thread. It was a good thread.
Feel bad for them.
And I had to put this one up because we don't get many wins. We just do not. And the Journal Times got hit by a really bad ransomware attack a little while ago, and they did not pay it, and they just cranked out getting their stuff back up, and it's finally back up yesterday. So just good on them for having ethics, having a moral backbone, and having the technical wherewithal to go do this. I wish every org could do this, and wish every org should do this, and you're cowards and incompetents if you don't do this. Anyway, on to we're going to do I don't do the poll thing. I don't do the poll topic after the poll for a reason. So whatever. And we have so Jordan did a poll because our featured story is what we're going to talk about for being safe on Signal, etc. So for the different platforms, what feature of encrypted messaging apps concerns you the most? And I normally like to hear Hemage's reaction first to this because she usually has some scathing ones for various platforms, and I don't know if she has any scathing ones for this one, Hemage.
I think we should all get off of social media.
I'm behind that. I enjoy that take. But the accidental ads is obviously funny. But
Why
I
is
think
that funny?
you know,
No,
I
no.
love talking to strangers.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, accidentally adding people to
Yeah.
Signal chats like Atlantic journalists.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking like accidental ads like advertisements, but no, now I can read.
I think actually my like most, I don't know, concerning feature is like Fed backdoors. Just saying. But you know, that was not included in the poll. So I think I have to choose other for that one.
That also was not included in the poll.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I wonder
Might
how
be
much of this is like kind of like all the recent, backdoors requested by government stuff, and also Apple turning off encryption for I think
Okay.
iOS backups in the UK. I
Yeah.
wonder how much of this is inspired by that.
Yeah, my mind goes to actually not even taking into account what Hema just mentioned is the unencrypted backups, where a lot of these devices send your chat somewhere on your device or elsewhere to be saved for your phone transfer. But we'll talk about that later.
Yes, we will. And so we're going to get to that as soon as we possibly can by jumping into this creepy thing that Todd wants to talk about. Todd, what is, first of all, because I want to take the screens down. So like, what is this just briefly for people?
Sure. So this is the Unitree Go 1. It is a dog that's also a robot. And it is
or is it a robot that's also a dog?
See, I don't know. It could be either one. It is a device. It's made by a Chinese company called Unitree. They retail for about $2,500 US. I guess they bumped it. I think it's discontinued now. There's the Go 2 though, so which is probably totally secure. And and yeah, for the podcast viewer, there was this really creepy animation of a dog running around, of this like chrome cybernetic dog running around.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
But the deal is that a couple hackers out in the world, / and binary, aka Kevin and Andreas, they found that, well, they had suspected about 15 months ago that there was a backdoor control channel to these things, where if you had the right credentials, you could like log into these robots, and the manufacturer obviously has the right credentials. Well, oopsie doodle, the API key for this tunnel got leaked, and so they were able to put together a demo of one of the binary hacking by basically SSHing into //'s dog from Germany to Ohio, and do things like dance around, and he was able to turn it off. He's also able to port scan and ARP scan within //'s network from the dog. So you get like a nice traditional cybersecurity story there of like, hey, it turns out like if your IoT devices get popped, then like it exposes your whole network. But also they're robot dogs and they move around and they interact with the environment, and sometimes are used in like law enforcement and paramilitary operations. And so it could be disastrous or just funny. You could just prank your friends. So that's the range of issues there. it came to my attention because Dot/Slash saw me comment on a LinkedIn post, and he said, "Hey Todd, do you still do CVEs?" And I said, "Why, yes, I do." And, because they had disclosed it like to the manufacturer of like, "Hey, we found your backdoor. You got to like say something about this," and was very quickly blocked on all platforms by the people that they were talking to. And they did kill the API key. But of course, it can come like it's extremely difficult to defend against a malicious manufacturer because this API key, like all you need is another API key, right? And so they wrote up a report and published it. Didn't get a lot of traction. And Dot/Slash was like, "Well, I bet if we had a CVE, we'd have more traction." And so I put together the CVE for it and wrote up a little disclosure and released that on Thursday night, this last Thursday night. And it has gotten a little more uptick. It's not published yet, but if you look for Sam Sabin from Axios, if you just Google Axios Sam Sabin, she's publishing something later today on it. And she got some quotes from the manufacturer and from the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party that had a comment on it. So keep an eye out for that. No spoilers.
I guarantee in my lifetime I will own a robot dog.
Well,
why though? Why?
Don't connect it to any network you care about.
Why not just
turn
turn
it
At least
off?
for now.
Because you can't just turn them off.
That's fair. They do require a lot of attention. Do you remember like back in the day there was this robot dog called Poochie? And
Is that the little tiny?
Does it flip?
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I don't know. Poochie was like a straight up like robot dog, and it had the red like LED eyes that would turn into hearts. And it would bark at you and stuff.
Well, that's not terrifying.
Yeah, it's just, we live in the future kind of thing. I think, but in regards to these things, it's always been kind of unclear, like if they're a proof of concept or if they're actually out there in the world. And it sounds like they actually are out there in the world.
Yeah. This is a consumer product. The Go 1 came in 3 levels. There was like the consumer, which is like the $2,500 ones, and then there's the Pro and the EDU. And the EDU is like the highest tier one. It's got like the most bells and whistles on it.
EDU is an education?
Yes. I don't know. I don't understand their tiers. I think it's probably for research reasons, but like I say, like they actively do sell into like law enforcement, namely. I'm not entirely certain about the paramilitary use of them, but like good for like bomb defusal or bomb destruction, basically. Like you send the dog in and it blows up and you don't care, right?
Is this the Poochie, Kimber?
That is the Poochie, yes.
I'll drop a link out for it.
Sega toys and distributed.
You know what? This is adorable. The other one's terrifying. This one's adorable.
Poochie was a force of good. I had one with blue ears. It did not defuse bombs or do paramilitary operations. It just loved.
I mean, I am with you, Kimber, that the Go 1 robot dog, like there is apparently an uncanny valley for robot dogs, and the Poochie is on the safe side.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone was breaking into your house and they encountered like a labradoodle or that hacked dog, like which one is going to be more terrifying?
I mean, my dog will yell at you for like a second until you give her a pepperoni or possibly a stromboli, and then totally pacified.
But I don't want my robot dog to be a stromboli, so I guess I'll stick with the Poochie.
The Stromboli cam is actually getting pretty good now. It's like nice golden crust starting to form.
That was fast.
All right, we are going to move on to the story of the day, which is we are not talking about the stupid name Signal Gate or Whiskey Gate or whatever you want to call it, because all it did was show that people don't know how to use Signal or whatever. And we just figured a brief segment there's a lot of people on this one. I think everyone else probably does a better job of it than I do of keeping a good signal, OPSEC and protecting yourself well. So we want to talk about stuff. We have two things from the Washington Post that's a creepy. I'm sorry, I didn't see this creepy eyeball thing when I was doing the links on my laptop.
For the
It's
podcast
creeping me out.
listeners, it is an
Yeah.
eyeball that is just in rotation, and it's completely gross.
This is the terrifying episode of the year. I don't like this episode so far. Anyway, and there's a Wired article from earlier this year too, because a Signal did an update earlier this year that prevented someone being able to craft a malicious QR code to be able to get to your Signal stuff and download stuff as well too. So Signal's great, Signal's safe, but I wanted to make sure people, if you don't update the app, it's probably not a good thing to do that. So what all did you want to tell people? Maybe I'll start with Todd. What would you like to tell people in terms of good use of these messaging apps?
I think the thing to keep in mind, like Signal is obviously not great for classified information. In fact, it is specifically disallowed for that. If you're handling classified information, please don't put it on Signal. Not that Signal, like the encryption is solid, right? It's all from like Moxie Marlinspike. It's being maintained by very smarty pants crypto engineers, and crypto means cryptography engineers at Signal. It's, it is quite solid. But like there's nothing preventing someone from like peeking over your shoulder and looking at it, and there's nothing preventing someone on the other side from like screenshotting it and putting it in a news article, right? And so you can rest assured that your messages in transit are fine, your messages at rest are okay, depending. You can set like a separate Signal unlock code, I believe. So like even if you're logged into your phone, you still have to do like another thing. Of course, that is trivially defeatable by beating it out of you. So there's that. So like I like Signal. I use Signal. Probably Signal's like my main social media app at this point. So I'm in lots of Signal groups. And it's wonderful and great and performant. It doesn't work on my car though, so that part kind of sucks. Maybe one day.
And Kimber, you're a fairly prolific user of the encrypted apps. Like you're really good at them. Would you have any advice to give to people?
I think the general advice that I would give to people is just discuss all crimes in person. Like don't ever crime in text format. Just like if you're gonna crime, your phone is not your friend if you're gonna crime. And I hate to give like actual crime advice, but like I think that should just be common sense at this point. But largely it's not. Like
when Kimber says crime, she really just means things that you want to keep private.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good disclaimer.
We do not endorse crime.
Well, hold on, because there are a lot of things this year and the next few years that are going to be considered crimes. That
the last couple of years in Texas, in specific.
Yeah.
Let's
not
just
I think one of my favorite takes on this whole subject is that Snapchat is my most secure messaging platform, because think about it. The messages always disappear. If somebody screenshots it, like it lets you know if they screenshot it. You have to go through so many hurdles to like have another device to record the screen if you want to do it. And like, if the other person is reading it, like there's just Snapchat is the pinnacle of text message security for me. Because if you say something on Signal, like somebody can just screenshot it and export it away, as we've seen. So
Is Snapchat coming back? I know it kind of like,
yes.
Well, let me rephrase that. Is Snapchat coming back for like my
different generation?
Yeah, because it had gone to a much younger whatever group.
Yeah.
And now I feel like it's growing as far as the demographic that's using it.
Simple app fun. But also social media influencers have been paid a lot of money to do Snapchat content. So I think that's moving a lot of people over. But I think it's funny to think of it as a secure app because like it's not necessarily in super duper military grade encryption, but like it tells you if your friend screenshots the message. So
I think that's a great. I think that's a great. I have one small thing to say, which is that I feel like people hyper focus on the app itself, and I think focus too much on encryption, if that's not too controversial to say, because like we've been talking about, there are different layers, right? You have the actual, like you have encryption, then you have the metadata and screenshots that can always leak regardless of whether it's end-to-end encrypted. And then you have the actual physical device, like is your phone going to be stolen? Is your laptop going to be stolen? And like how easy is it to access it from somebody like that? And then you have like, I feel like a lot of these leaks, as we've seen, in the headlines in recent weeks, is it's not very high tech OPSEC failures, right? They're not really technology failures. They're just human error and human mistakes. And so I feel like there's like, I love being paranoid and I'm super paranoid. And so I love encryption and kind of, looking at like, how can you have like, I look at those Reddit threads that are like, what is the best way to harden like all of these devices? But all of that fails in a second if, you're not kind of looking at all of those other layers.
Yeah, I think it goes
Also-
back to like what, sorry,
You're
it
fine.
goes back to basically like what are you protecting against, right? Like, so we talk about encryption, data is protected at rest or in transit. So like, what are you looking for there, right? Like, what is your threat model? Are you trying to not be intercepted? Or are you just trying to not worry about it if your phone is stolen? All of this, as mentioned, all of this fails if you unlock your phone, you open Snapchat, Signal, WhatsApp, whatever, leave your phone unlocked on the counter and walk away for a second. Like encryption matters zero. Also, like WhatsApp and at least I think by default the messages are encrypted, but then they back up to your iCloud for recovery. So then if your iCloud backups are stored on your PC, then your PC gets taken, then you can decrypt that very easily. Like, so you're not always in control of that content, I guess is what I'm saying. Where if I am signaling with Himija and Himija has Signal linked with her work computer, then I won't know that, but that also opens up a way for that information to be accessed. And that's why there's so many rules, regulations, procedures, tests on like truly classified, truly clearanced material has to take into account all of those things. But all of it fails when you're sitting on the plane and on the aisle and I'm sitting behind you reading your text messages.
That's exactly what I was going to say is like one of my favorite hobbies is creeping on strangers' text messages that they're writing.
Same.
Especially when going to security conferences.
Or my favorite is DC. Like every flight I have from Dallas to DC, no matter what, I'm surrounded, of course, by lawyers because they're going to do something shenanigan. And they're just writing these court things. And I'm reading about these lawsuits against major companies or whatever on a plane. Like they don't even have a screen protector.
Yeah.
Which again, your laptop's encrypted, but your screen's 14 inches and open in public. What's the point?
Okay, Glenn, what is the cost of a Dallas to DC flight and back versus how much you could like front run the market? based on this
data. It would be a good ROI, very good ROI, because I have about a 98% rate of reading weird things on that flight. Interesting.
Technically illegal. That's a crime. Don't do that.
Or that's a crime. We don't endorse crimes.
This is the anti-crime episode.
The two articles.
April Fools. Just kidding.
Yeah, crimes, whatever. It's cool. The two articles have really good advice as well too. We don't need to dig into everything here. I think the one thing I will add is maybe be a little bit unlike the Secretary of Defense and don't post on Signal when you're completely plastered out of your mind, because that's probably the worst operational security you're gonna have. So probably not a good idea to do that drunk.
Always drunk text.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna. Yeah, +1 on Kimbers.
Yeah, your friends love it. They do.
Yeah, so
I don't
do
know.
ex-girlfriends.
Yeah, it's just I don't know.
And current partners.
Yes.
All right, moving right along.
I have one more thing to say about that.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
I am sorry. I am sorry. I'm sorry. Before
Which is, I feel like we're always like, oh, what is even the point? You know, which is like,
Yes.
you know, where we all end up at the end
The
of the day,
cyber
we're
nihilism.
spiraling. Right, exactly. That's just what we do. But I want to say, like, I think it's worth, I think it's worth still trying, right? Like, it's even if the things that you do and the measures that you take for security are not 100% effective against every single, you know, thing that could come your way, I think it's still worth it. And if not, like, I think there's a lot to be said about, like, I see a lot of uh, mission-driven messaging when it comes to Signal versus, you know, Meta and other organizations, and I think there's value in like choosing a piece of tech, not even just because you think it's more secure or anything, but because you just like the people who are behind it. And that's also valuable, even if it's not going to be the thing that saves you from everything.
When you are the product, who do you want to be the product of?
And that's why I have an iPhone.
I don't know if that's gonna be much of a consolation over the next 12, 18 months. We'll see. Hopefully, it stays that way. So I forget who, because it's been a week. I forget who wanted to talk about the ESET findings of Famous Sparrow and the door thingy. So I forget which one of you liked this one.
I can talk about it.
Cool. That would be awesome.
So this is a report by some researchers from ESET about the like the resurgence of Famous Sparrow. This report is crazy. Everybody should go read it. It's really well done. But basically, TLDR is Famous Sparrow is the cyber espionage group, China aligned, that goes back to 2019, and then a couple years later in 2022 they seemed to disappear, right? They went quote unquote inactive, right, which, you know, is never really inactive. But they were known primarily for targeting the global hospitality sector, right? So hacking hotels, trying to find intel about guests and like people who are government affiliated and business affiliated, and grab intel about them. Fast forward to 2024, they come back, and they have new shiny tools that are way better, and they're using ShadowPad, which is significant because it is a private it's a privately sold C2 that is usually only available to Chinese threat actors. But the reason that link, that the fact that Famous Sparrow is using ShadowPad is so significant is because Microsoft Threat Intelligence has linked Famous Sparrow to Salt Typhoon. They have not provided a lot of IOCs to link that,
Or any.
plot twist, yeah, or any, aka zero. But that's like the first mumbling of anything that we've really heard about tradecraft that could potentially be being used by Salt Typhoon. There are a bunch of other things in the report about like specific tradecraft and specific observations. ESET does not link Famous Sparrow to Salt Typhoon definitively because we can't yet. But I think if we find additional indicators there, that would be huge. And I think all of that just the most interesting part of this story to me is that I feel like we always think that when threat actor groups disappear that they're just like, oh, okay, that's it. But it's crazy to me that they were active and then they went silent for like 2-3 years, and we're just working on brushing up their skills and making their tools way better. And then they came back and now they're targeting different groups as well. They're going from hotels and now they're targeting the financial sector. They're targeting a bunch of different countries that they never have before. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's other stuff going on where they're actually starting to collaborate with other threat groups either. But I'm just excited that we have any sort of indication about Cell Typhoon at all.
Yeah, it feels like we were talking about metadata earlier in Signal or in the encrypted comms chat. Like the metadata of this threat actor feels typhoony, but we'll see. They're also targeting like a Mexican research institute, so that's cool. That's cool.
Wow, Glenn.
What?
Cool.
Oh, well, sarcasm. Sorry. Back in my day, threat actors had morals.
I don't think so.
I don't think that's true.
Actually, speaking of no morals, say what you will about organized crime. At least it's organized, I guess.
Mhm.
Well, Interpol did a report that had cyber in it for a change, or a featured of it. They were looking at organized crime, the mob, if you will. And the TLDR, the whole thing is like, I mean, this is a no duh thing, but they have entrenched themselves within cybercrime because it's a really cool way to make a lot of money. I forget who also wanted to who talked about this report. Did Glenn?
It
Did you
was
plug this
me,
one?
Bob.
It was you. It was you.
It was
Okay,
me.
cool.
So the thing that just leapt out at me on this, so the headline specifically is mobsters now overlap with cybercrime gangs. And I read that, I'm like, what mean now? So I was a rapscallion in the late 80s and early 90s, and there were definitely mobsters around, like the phone freak scene. Just a little just a glimpse into crime history. The reason, like Steve Wozniak, the other Steve at Apple, most definitely sold blue box. Blue boxes are like you can route your own phone calls basically, right, with a blue box through tones. And he sold blue boxes allegedly to mobsters so they could book interstate gambling operations without fear of getting wiretaps because they were routing their own calls. And it was a pain at the time for the FBI to like actually figure out who was calling who, especially if you're blue boxing your stuff. So like mobsters have been in cybercrime since forever. What's that, Glenn?
Was that kind of the first like beginnings of a VPN where they just pick their route?
Pretty much, yeah. It has a very similar function to VPN. But like
some exit
I'm
nodes.
not saying I knew Steve Wozniak at the time, but I knew people who also sold black box or blue boxes to the mob in the San Francisco Bay Area in the late 80s. So it definitely did happen. So anyway, the now part just like struck me as like, oh, you've just figured this out. It's been like 40 years, guys.
But wait, now they have AI.
Also, now they have AI.
Like if the mob is using AI and you're not, what is even going on in your life?
I mean, that tells me that the mob is also easily fooled.
Yeah.
Now, do I want to like pitch vaporware at the mob? Probably not great for my health.
The threatening mob letters are going to get a lot more wordy now.
Yeah.
Henceforth. On the topic of crime, which is I think today's theme, I have wondered like how and when I say AI, I mean LLMs here, how AI companies are going to be held responsible for their platforms being leveraged for crime, right? Because it's so hard. We've already seen, I think the most famous one is like, I'm thinking of people asking ChatGPT, like, where can I hide like a dead body? Or I think that was Siri or something like that. Or just asking like, how can I hack, this hospital? I am wondering how detection of like bad intent can actually be something you make robust.
Didn't that guy that blew up the Cybertruck outside of the Trump Hotel like ask ChatGPT how to do it? And like, I remember that being part of the reporting. Like, we're already seeing this be part of the crimes of like, oh yeah, and they were asking ChatGPT about it. So there's already that stuff out there, right?
I fully expect zero accountability because that's part of the problem of everything. But also, like, there's no real vendor accountability for software. Why would there be accuracy accountability for AI online, right?
Cool. And you've always been able to like Google how to crime. So
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
think Google's ever been held accountable.
if it's training on public data and all the public data is telling you how to do the thing, then is the model really the problem? Or is it the folks hosting that content that it learns from?
Yeah. It's
I'm
kind of
not
like
saying I agree with any of these statements, to be clear. I'm just in
But-
this world that is today, like,
if you buy a hammer from Home Depot and bash somebody in the head with it, like, is Home Depot held accountable for giving you the hammer?
The crime that is actually helped by LLMs seems to be just like phishing scams, right? Like non-native English speakers giving
Speed.
messages to English speakers. And that seems to have taken off and is now baked in, right, to like all of your Nigerian and Hong Kong based phishing schemes. So like that ship has sailed. So if you get an email that reads like it came from ChatGPT, then it probably is fake, I guess.
or it's from Bob.
Or it's from Bob.
Very true. Well, no, that won't happen because I don't actually use email, as everyone here will probably testify to.
Well, if the email starts with the sentence, "Sure, I can help you with that," then you know that.
Okay,
I know
Hemage,
my emails are not authentic from Bob if they don't have an insult in them.
this is true. Yeah, that's like the code that we have to use for that. Hemage, I know your voice is not doing so great. Do you want to give us a rundown? Do you want to wait till next week on the ingress
The
nightmare?
Kubernetes thing? No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Let's go.
I just sound like I'm going through puberty 3.
3.
3. Yes. So last week we published this blog about that Kubernetes Nginx ingress controller RCE that came out last week. Very bad, could allow for takeover of the cluster. And basically one of our researchers found around 5,000 hosts exposed online in census that were potentially vulnerable, not necessarily vulnerable, but were ingress controllers that were exposed to the internet. And it's actually a really fascinating read about how the necessary steps to put these out on the internet are not defaults. So you have to intentionally misconfigure them. And it kind of goes through just how kind of contorted the configurations are. Like, it's not easy to bypass and set things to be publicly exposed on 80 or 443. And a lot of these are like dev environments or testing environments that people just want to access, I guess, more widely without, getting around their own firewalls and stuff. But yeah, it's funny and sad that this is like not a mistake. It's people actually intentionally, deliberately misconfiguring them, and unnecessarily doing so.
The post is really, you're absolutely right. It's a great read. No one said the title. It's Ingress Nightmare Kubernetes. I can't, like, certain people who might not be shown right now don't let me put cool titles on blog posts here. So how did you get that cool title through?
Cooler company, I guess.
We're allowed to be funny, but only we test it. I don't know if you've seen some of our memes recently. But this is the one hill I'll die on. We should be funny.
I don't know. I might have to start liking Rachel more than I like somebody else. All I know Overwatch is, like, whenever I try to sneak past a really cool title on the main blog, it just gets shut down.
This was a good article to pass along to all of the people who were freaking out about this one, because after I read it, it was really clear how much of a misconfiguration that is, and how obvious that it would be this is a dev environment or a staging environment that somebody was like, I can't access, so just open it up to everybody.
But that's the interesting part, right? From Hemage's blog, it's like, yeah, it's a misconfiguration. It's terribly insecure, and also people are doing it on purpose to subvert their own security, because like their mean and crusty old cybersec person says like, "No, you can't put dev on the internet." And it's like, "Well, no, watch me."
Is that
Those
how
are good
most security careers get started? Is being told no?
Yes, I think yes. The people who get popped from the Ingress Nginx thing in 10 years are going to all be CISOs.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll add to that discussion is so the Nginx one is a really, really popular way of doing the ingress. Trafic is another one, but Nginx has a slightly better security history than Trafic does. Like Trafic's one of the more poked at ones. It's got a lot more power behind it than Nginx does too. So like, there's lots of ways to just screw this up anyway. And if you were illicitly putting a dev environment on the internet, like shame on you. Like don't do that. It's not a good thing to do. Kimber, you guys have a blog. It's first time in a couple weeks. And this one was interesting because I think so I think is Filigrane OpenCTI. Is that what I remember?
It is. Yeah, this is a pure marketing blog, but you know, it's exciting if you're a user of OpenCTI and want to make a bunch of data correlations with what you have in OpenCTI and vulnerabilities. So I would say that is my hype for this one. Is we have a new partner. It is Filigrane. It is. It was a lot of fun to follow the development process of this one, actually, because yeah, I didn't know the power of OpenCTI. I feel like this is a very just like marketing blog about hype that we're doing a new thing. So
Gotta pay the bills. You gotta pay the bills.
exactly.
And actually, it's one of our most, besides Splunk, it's one of our most asked for integrations. So
Yeah.
it's a thing. OpenCTI. I love OpenCTI. It's a really good thing.
I learned a lot about it.
Todd, what should I click on? Anything?
Rapid response, if you please.
Double click on that.
Listen, you.
Double click? Double
Yeah,
click?
that Dell EMC thing. The Dell EMC thing, not the Crush FTP thing. I don't care about that. I do care about the Crush.
Double click is a trigger word.
Thank you.
Yeah, it
Yes,
is.
let's
Yeah,
double click
I
into
get
this.
that.
It's into Glenn, by the way. That's the preposition. This is, yeah, so Run Zero, we somewhat routinely publish these rapid responses for things that are kind of hot on the internet. This is one example that we did last week. It is there's a set of Dell EMC vulnerabilities, blah, 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 unauthenticated remote code execution, etc. Right? The advice, of course, is patch your stuff, right? Which is usually the usual advice. So I used to work at Dell, and I used to work specifically with EMC devices. Patch your EMC is that is a project that is in the tier of like just patch your Microsoft Exchange server, right?
I can
like
confirm this.
That's
And
a downtime to patch.
yeah, absolutely. You've got to figure on downtime. You got to figure on like just the act of maybe Dell EMC is awesome these days. I don't know. It's been a minute. But like just turning them off is itself like a procedure.
Yeah, this is usually a physical situation.
And so, yes, you should patch your stuff, but like this is the kind of thing, right? That like info security people like me are like super guilty of all the time. And I know Bob and I used to talk about this constantly of like the just patch advice is sometimes a little like the jest is doing a lot of work in that sentence, right? So keep an eye, like there's no indication of public exploitation, I don't think, at least today, right, on this EMC stuff. Generally speaking, your EMC stuff should not be exposed to the internet, but of course it is sometimes, so check for that, right? Like that's something you can do today, is just like check your exposures. But if you're going to be patching these things, obviously you're going to want to get some help. Probably call your EMC like customer service rep before you do it, like every time.
I was going to ask about what would be the exploitation path for this one, even because this is like a data center level vulnerability, but you can scan.
It is, but there's ports and talks TCP and like if it has an IP address, it can talk on the internet. Like some way. The I stands for internet in IP.
Are they out there on the internet? Do you know? Have you scanned?
I haven't scanned.
Wait,
we need to do like when Run Zero issues a thing, does GreyNoise see an uptick in activity of scanning for that thing?
Wait a minute.
Oh, that's actually, yeah, we could do that. We could do
Yeah,
that.
that's easy.
I don't know if I like
Todd.
the information here.
A question. Well, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Glenn. Go ahead.
Is my mic on today? Internet, capital I or lowercase I? Go.
Lowercase I
Lowercase.
today, but it changed.
Uppercase
Wow.
because I respect it and view it as an entity.
Right.
Lowercase in communications because I'm lazy and am a persistent lowercaser.
Because it's the internet and not an internet, I really do want that capital I, and I fought for that for like 2 years after it was unfashionable to do it, but I've lost.
I have trauma with that because in college I lost an entire letter grade on a paper because I didn't capitalize internet.
Well,
Yeah.
good. That was disrespectful of you.
And now when I see it written professionally as a lowercase, I feel some redemption. But I default to capital because
You have
I'm
trauma.
traumatized and very upset about that.
Yeah.
Makes
So-
note to self to mention internet every day and Slack with lowercase. Anyway.
So here's the thing, though. I feel like it used to be capital because internet
was.
used
It
to
did.
be the internet used to be a place you would go, right? It's like, let me log on to the
It's
internet.
like a noun.
And now, yeah, it was a
It was
noun.
a
It was a
proper noun.
place.
It was
Proper
one
noun.
particular network.
Yeah.
And now where it's always connected to it. We're always in it. So I think it's I.
I wish we
Yeah,
could play
lowercase
clips on the
I.
fly right now because I want that Good Morning America clip from the mid 90s. Like, what is internet, Todd? Or whatever.
Internet.
What is internet?
So yeah, Image's take, but also as an omnipresent being, much like
Mhm.
God, we are forever surrounded by internet.
Here's the thing: like when the internet
So this is hell.
gains
Yeah.
self-awareness and sentience and is like a general AI, right?
Robot dogs.
When
Robot
it's,
dogs.
and
We've come
it is
forward.
unleashing the robot dogs on its enemies.
Driven by
That's when
Mama
we-
AI.
that's when we upgrade it back to a capital I. I think this is actually really useful. This is useful for future historians to notice, like, oh, it was a very special proper noun, and then it wasn't, and then it was again.
Once the robot dogs delivered us the internet omnipresently, we had to go back to capitalization. The mobsters made us, actually.
Yes.
Can I ask a practical question about the blog?
No.
You could.
Yeah, you won't get an
so
answer.
I haven't used Dell. Thankfully I haven't used Dell EMC kit.
I'm sure they're great products.
Sure they are. And so is Unity VSA and the XT, is that the controller stuff to configure the rest of the environment? Like it's the backend management stuff for the actual chassis and everything, right? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
From my understanding, it's the management plane.
Yeah, cool. Yes, yeah, thank you, Kimber, because my thing is, I'm pretty pedantic about this, and when I had a real job, two real jobs in a row, a big mission of mine, and I was able to accomplish it at the second one, was to get all of this garbage onto a dedicated management network that you had to be internally VPN into to actually do work in. And I'm only getting on my high horse about that because it's what y'all should do. I know we're all cloudy and whatever right now, but if you're running on data center, there's a big move to go back to data centers again in a lot of circles. If you get to do that and you get to do it from scratch again, design a management network for all these management interfaces and get them off of everything and make a 2-factor authentication to get into. And I know it sounds like a pain, but you won't be a headline. And I'm sorry to get on my high horse about that, but this is completely avoidable for attackers. And just
right.
I'm gonna call.
Are you describing defense in depth? The Onion model?
Yes, a little bit. Yeah,
What is this, 1994?
No, it's actually, Glenn. No, it's 1984. Actually, Glenn. Anyways,
where I go to a data center. I miss that.
I miss the cold. I miss the cold. I loved the cold temperatures. I loved the cold temperatures.
I like the cold. I don't like the hearing damage.
Yeah, it's the sound for me.
Just put the on.
Yeah, I know, but like they're all the way across the room. Like, oh, dang it, I forgot to pick up my mufflers. And...
Wait, your data center had hearing protection?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Not mine.
Hey, in the chat, by the way, just to like re-derail, do you lowercase the proper noun Earth? Yeah, but it's like so. That's
Is this a new survey question or poll question?
Well, I mean, but that's like I I mean, okay, fine. Since we got a couple minutes, and lowercase Earth is like the dirt. Capital, its capital is the planet. Like it's that's an easy for me. Like it's not that hard for me.
One of 8 or 9 planets, or 12, depending on how you count.
Depending on what you think. All right, so we've being GreyNoise have a couple blogs, recent blogs. You got a Draytech one, but I want to just briefly talk about this Palo Alto one because I social mediated it over the weekend, and because I rejiggered some things to get a different look at our data, and this popped up. Like this was like a glowing red thing, and I did not do any more work on it over the weekend because I was busy doing other things this weekend. But for folks that run Palo Kit, we had a fairly massive string of hits against our login scanner, like tossing lots of things. We have 3 Java 4 H hashes from the clients that were doing that. So if you have logs or you do use that tech, you can use that to get into there. We put it in here because we are merging these fields in the platform eventually, but we wanted to get them out here because we get to see them before you guys do. And at the same time, like towards the end of it, there was an odd spike in just the crawler, and there was nothing really like Morris did a great job digging into the PCAPs on this one, and there wasn't enough that made us go, this is like super bad, so we should like get all the agencies and whatever involved. But it's just really weird, and whenever we see activity like this, and Noah quoted me in here, thanks Noah. What we've been seeing a pattern over the past like 18-ish months, maybe 24, where when we see weird stuff like this that just doesn't, it's not right. Like it's not the usual way of doing things. It's usually a precursor for 2 to 4 weeks from now there being a really a bad O day or a bad CV coming out or a bad campaign launched against this particular technology. So they're kind of stealthy doing things inside here, and then they come back with something later on. So I guess what I said on social, when I said what I had Noah put in the blog, like maybe if like you do run Palo Kit, maybe hopefully they're running an HA, take one of them and forensicate it, and then take the other one and forensicate it. Look at your logs and just be on the lookout in the next couple weeks because things might not be that great for you all. Just
there's a high pressure disturbance that may head this way for the Palo folks.
It's a lot of IPs.
It is a ton of people kept mentioning that. Yeah, it is a lot of IPs.
You should send those to me. Oh wait, I guess I can just go read the blog.
Could or I could just send you the IPs.
Yeah.
It's a little easier to do that. We did it. We got through. I'm hungry now. I don't know about you guys, but I have to. It did bake nicely during the show. That was nice.
That was beautiful.
Another wonderful episode of Storm Watch, which we do every week.
Yeah, and we eat a Stromboli weekly, which is strange, but you know, it's the burrito of pizza, so why not?
Only to help Glenn identify it when he's out and about. That's all, just for that. All right. So as we fold up this episode of Storm Watch, remember that in the world of cybersecurity, you can't just sit back and be a couch calzone. Whether you're dealing with robot dog backdoors or the digital evolution of organized crime, you've got to stay on your toes like a nimble little ravioli. Don't let hackers turn your data into mincemeat for their criminal lasagna, and keep your systems secure, your passwords strong, and your backups fresh, because in this game, you don't want to end up as the salami in someone else's cyber sandwich. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and most importantly, stay delicious. I mean, secure. Until next time, this is Storm Watch signing off. Arrivederci, and may your firewalls be as impenetrable as a well-baked Stromboli crust. Take care, everybody.
Bye.